Hello. Is everybody ready to talk workforce development? That is what we're talking about in this room. I understand there may have been a labeling issue. If you wanted to talk about transportation, it's 2 rooms over. Okay. Cool. Hi, my name is Maggie. I am a project manager on the Workforce and Contractor Development team at PCEF. And for the next 2 hours in this room, I'm going to be talking about our workforce and contractor development funding opportunities, mostly aimed at folks who are interested in applying in either this upcoming cycle or cycles beyond that. So for this first hour, I'm going to be focusing on workforce. You may have heard in the first session, we have sort of 3 subcategories. We got workforce development. Within that, there's this small youth education and exposure category. That's going to be what I talk about for the next hour. After that, I'm going to talk about contractor or business development grants for nonprofits. So if you're interested in business, stick around for that, or come back for that, or go check out some of the other sessions. There's no bad choices here today. All right. Before we get started, I am just so psyched to see you all here. And I kind of want to, just real quick, how fast can we do this? I want to know who y'all are and why you're here. And I also want you all to know who's here. Because as I'm going to be talking about, workforce is this is a great portfolio to be working together. Because it's a big field, and people have a lot of different organizations have important pieces of the puzzle. So I do just seriously, how fast can we do this? Who are you? What's your org? In 3 words, what brought you here? Want to apply this spring? Just curious. Have a burning question about this issue. Who can set us off with a really strong model of an efficient introduction?
And looking for partnerships and collaboration.
My name is Carlos Banks. I'm with iUrban Teen. I'm the regional director for iUrban Teen. We do STEM plus arts pathways, career pathways for our youth, workforce development, and just looking to see how we can apply and get in this time. That was more than 3 words, but did
it. Sam Barraza, program manager with the Portland Clean Energy Fund team, and just here to get a little bit of the energy in the room and get a feel for folks. Thank you.
Cynthia Edison, I'm the LLC coordinator for Wisdom of the Elders, and same as you two, just here for collaboration and partnership.
I'm Ayla Hubert with Wisdom of the Elders on the LLC crew, and I'm just here to get the experience.
Good morning, Juan Barraza. I'm the Secretary Director of Latino Founders. We're a business incubator and accelerator to support Latino-led ventures scale, and we're focused on the energy space.
Also, my name is Angela, and I'll be mic running. Just make sure you project, especially with these not so thick walls. It really helps.
I am Jim Labby with Participatory Budgeting Oregon, and I'm curious if participatory democracy and project-based learning fits into PCEF's definition of workforce development.
Leanna Petrone, Communications Development Director at East County Rising, here to collaborate with all of you and also look at our own grant for this spring.
Hi everyone, I'm Sid Abad, he, him pronouns. I'm the program manager at East County Rising, and I'm just here to learn more about PCEF.
Hey there, I'm Sherry. I'm a part of Data Domino Consulting, which is my own firm. I'm here looking for collaboration and also applying for a grant for one of my clients who happens to be BIPOC focused and more fashion oriented. Looking forward to collaborating.
Hi, D'Angelo Moaning, PCEF committee member. I do civil rights compliance and workforce outreach in my job. I'm just here to see everybody's ideas and learn more about how people want to involve themselves with the program.
Hi, my name is Isabella Blair. I'm an outreach specialist for Energy Trust of Oregon, and I work with community organizations in Portland.
Good morning. I'm Kenny Asher. I'm the Deputy Program Manager at PCEF. I'm here to hear from all of you.
Hello, my name is Zoe Erickson. I'm working for African American Alliance for Homeownership, and we oversee a Power to the People program. So we're interested in applying for another PCEF grant.
Hi, I'm Carmen Dennison. I'm the Executive Director at Coalition for Racial and Educational Justice. We do post-secondary access and guided pathways work with communities of color and communities, most PCEF's priority communities. So I'm here to support our program and develop a green jobs pathway.
My name is Huda Yusuf. I'm from EECRC, which stands for Ethiopian Eritrean Cultural and Resource Center. So our organization is mainly works with refugees and immigrants. So the main goal is connecting them with potential resource to make them thrive and being a contributing member of the society. So I'm here to learn more about the workforce opportunities and to networking.
My name is Deidre Sheets. I use she, her pronouns. I'm with Nutrition Garden RX. We optimize urban gardens for health and climate benefits. We're highly collaborative, and we have a teen and young adult priority project currently. So I would love to meet with you.
Buenos dias, good morning. Carlos Sanchez Wizard, Portland Workforce Alliance, Partnerships Director there. We are growing our construction and Green Pathways mentoring program.
I'm James. I'm an intern at Future Climate Collective, which is hoping to create climate literacy curriculum for high schoolers in Portland.
Shik Good morning. My name is Lynn James, and I'm a tribal member of the Confederate Tribes and Bands of the Yakama Nation, Executive Director of the Mary Kiama Foundation. That's in honor of my grandmother who brought the Europeans down the Cowlitz River in the 1800s. I'm here to see if the funding will help me develop workforce and supportive housing for our warriors, veterans. And so I'm here to also collaborate with others because I'm a brand new nonprofit. Thank you for your time.
Hi, my name is Cheyenne Gutierrez. I am the Senior Manager of the Economic Justice Department at Latino Network, and I'm here to learn from the innovation everybody is bringing in today and to keep working on the narrative of the theory of change for our workforce development programs.
My name is Trent Gay. I use he, him pronouns. I am with the Urban League of Portland. I am the workforce manager, and I'm here today to see how we can coalesce with some others to build into the next round of grants that are coming out. We host already the big PCEF. We have the small PCEF through Work Systems, and we have our electrical pre-apprenticeship program that we also have. So those are some of the things that we're doing, and we're looking to move into the solar energy, small portable solar energy training.
I'm Bishop Sims with Full Holy Ghost Mission, and we're just trying to establish low-income property, and then plus we're trying to get the homeless, however you want to describe it, but people without houses, try to get them a kitchenette, something like that. And we got this little design for it. We're just trying to figure out what the next step that we can get this grant if we need some of that to help us get started and finish this work that we're trying to do.
My name is Becca Pedrazzi. I work for the Immigrant and Refugee Community Organization, and we're looking for enhancing career pathways to training partners, especially around green energy. We have a lot of outreach and engagement and career coaching, but we're looking for trainers who have approved apprenticeship or pre-apprenticeship programs that are useful for people who are English as a second language.
My name is Matthew Henderson. I'm the grant writer for Helping Hands. It's a homeless shelter and reentry program in 5 different Oregon counties, and I'm just looking for new grant programs.
Hello, I'm Eric Harris with the Urban League of Portland, supervisor of workforce. I'm here with Trent Gay, so we covered what we're here for, but I'm also looking to network and collaborate with others.
Hi, I don't know if it's morning or afternoon, so good morning. Victoria James, Operations Manager for City Collaborative. I think I'm mostly here to continue to collaborate with you all and to stay in the loop about what PCEF is offering for 2025.
Hello, my name is Mims Rouse. I'm the Executive Director for the Coalition of Black Men, and we focus on health and wellness, economic development, as well as youth mentoring. And I'm here to explore funding for youth development around climate change.
Hi, everybody. I'm Duran Coles with the Kajani Collective, a group of Black professionals and environmentalists that are doing Black-led climate solutions, and I am here to gather insights from all of you. So thank you in advance.
Hi, everybody. Ryan Lapoma, Senior Education Manager at Earth Advantage. We offer technical training specifically in the residential energy efficiency space, and so we're interested in providing, supporting folks in the room to provide that technical training to your members and constituents, but also to help build capacity at these organizations to continue to do so. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Chrisman Inocentes Bell, and I'm the Executive Director of the Philippine American Chamber of Commerce of Oregon. And I'm here to see and learn about strong program implementation models and looking to partner with youth-serving institutions that focus on entrepreneurship that are also strong implementers and have strong accountability systems.
Okay, it's really exciting to hear about all these new groups in the room. And next.
Hello, good morning. My name is Paul Spigner. I use the he, him pronouns. I'm with Word is Bond. We are a leadership incubator for young Black men. We are interested in applying in the spring, and we are definitely here to learn more about potential grants.
Hi, everybody. My name is Nisa Jensen, and I'm with Trash for Peace, which is a nonprofit in Portland. And we're looking to provide more youth training for sustainable jobs and give them internship and mentor opportunities.
Good morning. My name is Brian Tibbetts. I'm here with Latino Built Association for Contractors and Latino Built Foundation. We do workforce development and technical assistance for Latinos in the construction industry.
Hi, my name's Kayla. I work for Statements DC as a volunteer specialist. We're creating a new program called Service Learning in Portland, so I'm here just to learn about other opportunities and funding resources, and then also build connections, because that's what service learning is all about.
Hi, I'm Nami Bigos. I'm the Deputy Director at Oregon Tradeswomen. We are a pre-apprenticeship program for women and gender minorities. We're a current grantee and hopefully ongoing grantee, and looking for connections and collaborations here.
Good morning and buenos dias. My name is Benjamin Losthart. I'm the Executive Director and founder of Day One Tech STEM. We provide culturally responsive youth programs for schools and apartments in East County and in Portland, and soon to be founder of Centennial Business Association. And in 3 words, partner with us.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. My name is Marcus Delgado. I'm with Ideal Associates. We are a consulting firm that actually provides change management services, project management services, and organizational design. I'm here to learn about all the fantastic work that is happening here in Portland, and then want to find out how we as an organization can help support businesses and provide our service to help continue and grow the community.
Great Rising, Lakiana Jury, he, him, his pronouns, founder and executive director of Word is Bond. It's already been stated, workforce development with young Black men in clean energy jobs.
Talofa, good morning, everybody. My name is Jacinta Ngaleai. I'm the Executive Director of Samoa Pacific Development Corporation. We serve Samoans and Pacific Islanders in the state of Oregon. I'm just here to learn more about PCEF and hopefully become one of a successful applicant.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. My name is Jamise Quelle, and my pronouns are she, her. I serve as Vice President for Community Resource Mobilization at EcoTrust. We do workforce development work as a member of the Green Workforce Collaborative, and we also implement the Vivian Barnett Fellowship for Food and Climate Justice Leaders. And I'm here to learn more about the work folks are doing and pursue opportunities for partnership.
Hello, my name is Teshome Jiru from Birch Energy. Birch Energy provides energy efficiency services as well as construction. Here today I am just to represent our equitable program delivery team. We provide contractor development and outreach services. And here I'm here to network and find some partners for grant application.
Morning, my name is Justin Myers. I'm here with EcoBiz. We're a green business program here in Oregon for automotive and landscaping businesses. We will be applying in the spring. I'm also looking for different clean energy and energy efficiency ideas to add to our green business program.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tony Jones. I'm with the Coalition of Black Men. I'm the Chair of Economic Development, and we'll be working in collaboration and continuing to work with NIMS. But we will be also looking at workforce development, looking at opportunities to provide training in energy efficiency to construction workers.
Okay, I'm going to hand it back to Maggie. I just want to say there's totally new folks in the room. Is there somebody? Oh, of course. Thought you were going to sneak in.
Hello, everyone. My name is Derek Thompson, co-director of Leaders Become Legends. We're a mentoring organization where we mentor our clients to wellness and employment. We get a lot of our people in the green energy career sector, but we also mentor these organizations and companies who are calling for diversity on how to deal with our people. So that way, when they're in these jobs, it's more of a smooth transition. Also, I'm looking for collaborators within different career sectors as well.
Wonderful. Okay, so I saw a bunch of new folks in the room. Is there somebody else that hasn't gone? We good? Okay. Also, very exciting to see recipients of mini grants in the room that are looking for their next grant. So great to have you here. And Maggie, take it away.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody. I'm just like, I'm so psyched. You kind of already, I guess I can still give this presentation, but you all here in the room, you know, it's like, I'm just going to talk to you about like, you know, how we think about, I'm going to talk to you about how we think about workforce development, what we're thinking about, so that as you're applying for the money we have, you can align your application and be informed. That said, all we've got is money. You guys have the ideas, the drive, you're making the connections. I'm like loving how many people are talking about wanting to collaborate, what they have to offer. Everyone's got a different piece of the puzzle. I hope that you all are talking with each other in the networking hour after this presentation. Maybe we'll have some time when we're done. But what I'm going to try to do here is give you a few more specifics to talk about. This is how PCEF talks about thinks about workforce development. This is what we see are elements of successful projects, because successful projects is what everybody wants. So yeah, here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna talk a little bit, just like begin at the beginning, because I know we have folks from a lot of different levels of experience in the room. So like, what is workforce development? What are a couple examples of projects, different ways that people have entered the space in the past? And then I'm just gonna kind of, you know, give you a little preview of like, when we're reviewing applications, like what are we looking for at every piece of the project? So that you can kind of, the idea there is for you to be like, okay, I have this idea, for you to be able to look at what we're looking for and sort of stack it up and see like, okay, how competitive am I? Where might I need to bring in a partner? Where might I need to strengthen? Where am I already really strong? Then questions, as you got them, raise your hand, shout them out. I might answer it. I might tell you I'll answer later. I might tell you I'll answer at the end, but I'll do my best. Sound okay? All right. Let's get started. First of all, just like PCEF, we just got the whole history. But like one thing that hasn't changed is since the beginning, we're here for the clean energy transition in Portland. Fighting climate change and at the same time providing benefits to folks who have been excluded from past clean energy benefits programs and excluded, if not outright extracted from, in the economic boom that created climate change in the first place. That's the vision. So the clean energy transition, I mean, we're talking renewable energy, building buildings, and it's just gonna take a lot of work. Like there's a lot of stuff that needs to get done. And people are gonna have to do it. They're gonna have to do, we're gonna need new workers. We're gonna need workers working in new ways. Learning, people who, like plumbers who are learning to install energy efficient heat pumps. And electricians who are learning to wire EV charging stations, people learning to put up solar panels. So for everything that needs to get done in the clean energy transition, there's a job. And a lot of these are pretty good jobs, and they are expected to grow significantly. Like generally in Oregon, actually just due to population dynamics, something like, I think 1 in 5 workers is gonna retire in the next 10 years, and that's just to support the economy that we have. But some of the growth that like our people at the Workforce Development Board are projecting in these professions, like electricians up by 24% in the next 10 years, and that pays over $40 an hour on average. Solar installers up by 40%, that pays more than 22. HVAC technicians up by 25% in the next 10 years, pays almost $30 an hour on average. So these are good jobs, and we want to get people in them, again, who've been excluded from clean energy benefits and from economic prosperity in the past. So workforce development is the pipeline balancing act of making that happen, right? So, and we're kind of like weaving things together. We've got community members looking for jobs, and our goal here is like, let's get those people into good jobs so they and their communities can prosper. But then that's also, we need that to be happening alongside the green economy. And like from a green economy, green business perspective, it's like, well, these businesses need workers. So we need like the business is growing, we need the workers growing, and then together they do the work that leads to the clean energy transition. This is the idea. You with me? Okay. So how do you do workforce development? I tell people this is my job, and the first thing they say is like, oh, like job training, right? Like job training. That's the first thing people think of. You know, you give someone a class in how to do a thing, they get a certificate, and then they get a job, right? So I don't know. I mean, like I was once looking for a job, and I got my my OLCC card, my alcohol service permit, and I was like, great, I'm getting some training. I got my credential, and I printed it out, and I stood there, and I just waited for someone to offer me a job. It didn't happen. It didn't happen. Turned out there's a lot more involved. When we are talking about workforce development at PCEF, we are talking about the whole pipeline from getting someone from like a potential job seeker, getting recruited into a program where they're gonna get training that is relevant for them and their interests, you know, like screen people for fear of heights before you sign them up for solar installation, all that. Then getting them training that is specifically relevant to the industry they're in and has like a certification or a standard where anywhere you go, ideally you'll be able to say like, I have, you know, a Building Performance Institute analyst certification. I've got this. And someone looking to hire them will say, okay, if you've got that, then I know what you can do. Additionally, we're looking for job placement services. So post-training, getting people lined up with like a first job in the field. Maybe that's an apprenticeship. Maybe it's like a sort of like a job to get started in, but like that is going to lead to growth. And we get a lot of questions about the job placement. So I want to say that this is important to us for two reasons. One is obviously like we're here to get people jobs, you know? So if like your program gets people jobs, like you understood the assignment. Nice job. The other is that it's kind of like a safety mechanism because, yeah, we're going to need 40% more solar installers in the next 10 years, but we don't need 40% more solar installers tomorrow. So if your solar installation training program has a plan to, like a real plan to get people into jobs, then we know we're not oversupplying the market with solar installers. Because we don't just want to train people in something and then have them like have wasted their time, or like actually happened in California about 10 years ago. They trained so many solar installers that wages actually started going down because there were so many people who were like trained and trying to get jobs, and like the industry didn't take off at the same pace, you know? So that's why we are, we're really looking for job placement as like part of the package. And then ideally after that, you know, if you can get someone into a job, I mean, it's not like the challenges are over. You know, especially when you're looking at communities facing a lot of disadvantages, there are a lot of barriers to keeping a job, just like there are a lot of barriers to getting them. We'd love to see programs that help people like really get their both feet on the ground in their new profession. All along the way, supports. We see some really great programs, and we'd love to see more that have awesome wraparound support systems. Again, looking again especially with the communities PCEF is serving, tons of barriers to getting a job. You know, it can be transportation, childcare. You need boots. You need tools. Things come up at the last minute. What sort of support, like practical supports, like funds for boots and tools, as well as coaching and mentorship, are you able to provide? Those are all things that we're thinking about. I will add here, because I know we've got some people in the room who are interested, you know, that obviously the real first step in the pipeline prior to recruitment is developing interest in youth. You know, getting folks who are, you know, pre-job seeking, getting them STEM skills, getting them interested in climate careers. We recognize that that is a really important piece in workforce development. It's also, as was shared earlier, not like it's a small piece of our funding portfolio. And that's a decision that was made based on sort of like the larger ecosystems of funding that are available for youth programming versus adult workforce programming. We get comments about it every public comment period, and I'm sure we got a bunch this time. I haven't had a chance to dig in yet, but we recognize the importance of it, even though it is not a huge piece of this funding portfolio. We'll only probably give 2 $400,000 grants in the next cycle. So, and I'll talk more about that later. So that was like big picture, workforce development program. What should it include? I'm going to dig more into details in a little bit. How are we doing so far? Questions? All right, cool. I did want to take just a minute to say that workforce development is, like I said at the beginning, it's part of the PCEF vision. It's something that is actually baked into to PCEF programming in a lot of different ways. Right now, we're talking about community grants for workforce development, but every PCEF community grant, ones in this portfolio and over in the clean energy portfolio and the transportation portfolio, they all include a workforce and contractor equity agreement, which requires not only the payment of base wages, but also sets goals for hiring diverse apprentices and contractors, because we want to make sure that the projects we're running are part of career development for as many folks as possible. And of course, it's one of our funding areas. So in community grants, programs we really want to see, again, not same as the other portfolios, right? We want to see community benefits. If you're teaching people to weatherize houses, be sweet if you could weatherize some houses for, for some priority population households while you're doing it. That's a great community benefit. And we're also, of course, looking for benefits for priority populations. Now, this is actually a little bit different in workforce development than overall. Overall, our priority populations are people with disabilities, people of color, and people living on low incomes. But in workforce development, because of gender disparities, especially in construction-related fields, we do include women and people experiencing gender or sex-based discrimination in the workplace as priority populations for workforce development programs. That make sense? Okay, so let's actually talk about some practical examples, shall we? Here are two examples that are actually really different, but both examples of successful programs. And I think we even have some folks in the room who may have been involved in one of them. All right, first is the Constructing Hope Pre-Apprenticeship Consortium. Constructing Hope actually kind of led the administration of this project along with POIC, Oregon Tradeswomen, and the other organization is escaping me. If you're in the room, tell me. So these were 4 organizations that were already in the field of workforce development who decided to work together and sort of supercharge their efforts to get folks facing a variety of barriers, including previously incarcerated folks, into a pre-apprenticeship training program, which, if you're not familiar with it, is sort of it's like a standardized training that you take before entering an apprenticeship in a construction trade, in a building trade. And it's once you're in an apprenticeship, you have a clear paid path to getting a full journeyman qualification, good wages. So it's a good path. And they used PCEF funding to set some really specific goals. 5 years, they had a pathway in mind. They're like, we're going to outreach to 6,000 folks. That'll get us about 600 who do training. We'll graduate 80%, and we'll get 400 placed in apprenticeships in this time. And they set ambitious goals, and they also worked to deliver them, not just by doing quality training and having quality job placement relationships, but also by providing really good wraparound supports that were tailored both to the communities they were serving and the work they were trying to get communities to do. If you're trying to work, in the building trades, you've got to be at the job site, maybe even before you if you catch the earliest bus, you still might not make it. So transportation's a big issue. They were able to provide some supports there, again, boots, tools, and then mentoring and coaching that was culturally specific to help people succeed. Great example. And I hear some of you, I can hear your thoughts right now, great, so if you're a workforce development organization, you can get a workforce development grant. How does that help me? Yeah, I hear you. We hear from a lot of people who are like, yeah, I'm interested in workforce development, but I don't have, my organization doesn't have a pre-apprenticeship training program. What are we gonna do? So here's another example. Apano, a local Asian and Pacific Islander organization, kind of in that space, said, hey, we have some community members that we wanna help gain job skills. We have some community members who need their homes weatherized, and they partnered with a contractor who had the technical expertise and the job training expertise to hire and train their folks, and part of that training was completing the weatherization project on the community member's home. So there are ways to enter the space, even if workforce development isn't already your core competency, but you do have to partner. And again, that's why I loved hearing in the room from so many people, we're looking for collaborators. We have technical expertise, we have expertise in our community. That can be a really productive way to partner. I'm going to share one other example, which I'm actually, if you stay for the contractor development session, you'll hear it again. But I do want to highlight another project from the Northwest Native Chamber. They had a great contractor development project that they, again, weatherizing community members' homes while helping contractors gain experience. And something they did that made them really successful, which, again, I'm like, I hope not all of you are staying for the next session, because, like, I'm going to have to come up with some new material on the fly. But they started with a mini grant to sort of explore the space. Then they got a planning grant, hired someone and trained them up and designed the program. Then they applied for a pilot grant to just do like 5 or 10 homes with a few contractors. And then they really scaled up the program once they got it every piece of the way. So that's another great example for those of you like on the edges of the workforce development space, is like, you might not just get there in this application cycle, but what can you do in this application cycle that's gonna get you there down the road? So those are a couple practical examples. Anything coming up for folks? Anything you want to add, Sam? All right. So yeah, some lessons there just to highlight. Build on your strengths. Find the right partners. And with those partners, with your strengths and others, do your best to deliver the whole pipeline. Okay, so this is the part where I'm just like, the slides have nothing but words on them, and I'm just like telling you what we're looking for. And again, my hope here, so it's a grants program, right? I'm going to tell you what we're looking for, and like the absolute perfect project would have all of these criteria, and if it got submitted at the same time as 25 other perfect projects, it still might not get funded. But also, if not every project that's submitted is perfect, your project might not have to, be the absolute, you know what I'm saying? It's like, I'm not trying to say these are like eligibility criteria. These are like ideal criteria. And if you see this and you're like, oh, my idea is way off the mark, that's a place to strengthen it. And if you hear this and you're like, oh, we're pretty on track actually there. Or like, oh, we need a partner over there. I'm sort of trying to help you self-assess your projects here. That was like pretty wordy, but do you see what I'm trying to do? Yeah. All right, big picture. We're looking for that whole pipeline approach. I've said that we're looking to lead to jobs, both so that your folks can be successful, and so that we have that like feedback loop that what we're doing is what you're doing is economically useful, like for sure. We want that culturally informed support and programming for our priority populations. That's a really important piece of doing workforce development. You can't just throw, a lot of our PCEF priority population folks, just throw them into a one-size-fits-all program. We want that culturally specific support. Having to put that together, the right partners in the right places with the right expertise is really key. Continued, sort of basic stuff. We do need a green focus. The jobs that you're training people for need to be part of that clean energy transition. Building more efficient buildings, renewable energy, green infrastructure, regenerative agriculture. They need to be like relevant to the climate world. Strong community benefits. We do, again, because part of this like vision is, like community prosperity, we do love to see it when you're getting people into jobs that have family wage careers pathways. It's like, that's how communities can like build wealth and prosper in the green economy, and we do want to see that. We want to see that you have some plans and capacity to track your outcomes and be accountable for them. And again, like, that's more than taking attendance at training. It's like getting people placed and then following up with them on a regular basis to be like, do you need support? Are you still in the job? And being able to deliver that information. Workforce development programs, this is like actually a criteria, have to be in the metropolitan statistical area. So I've got a map later, but this like includes Clark, Clackamas, Washington, I think even Yamhill and Skamania counties. So your programming has to take place in there. But no physical improvement. Any physical improvements have to take place in the city of Portland. So you can train your folks in home weatherization in Washington County, but if they practice on any houses, those houses have to be in Portland. Does that make sense? And we do it that way because we're recognizing the work shed. Not everyone who works in Portland lives in Portland. There's like kind of an ecosystem of economic activity here, and we're just recognizing that. All right, recruiting. Understand the jobs and understand the people. And again, like no fear of heights for solar installers, no claustrophobia for folks who are working in insulation, and also understanding what supports people are going to need to be successful and comfortable in their new careers. Training. I'm going to spend a little longer on this. Okay, so we're looking for high quality, in-demand training that produces industry recognized credential. The gold standard on this is something called a BOLI, Bureau of Labor and Industries registered program. Who knows what that is? Some folks, not everybody. I'm going to tell you about it. I'm going to tell you why we like it so much. Well, I'm going to do those things at the same time. So a BOLI registered program is when you've got like a specific occupation and you get a curriculum on file with the Bureau of Labor and Industries, and you run this like training program that is overseen by a joint apprenticeship training committee made up of basically like employers and unions and industry professionals who are like, hey, we are invested in the people doing this training. It's really important to us that everyone who is an electrician have the same set of skills and have these competencies and have done this training. And like, we care about this because we need electricians to do our work. So not every job has that setup, but man, the ones that do, they've got a bomb-proof curriculum and they've got a bunch of employers and who are so invested in that curriculum that they're serving on the training committee. So again, that like shows us that someone with this credential is going to get somewhere. Yes? So yeah, so great question. Like I'm saying this is like the gold standard, and here's why. But if you, but it's something that's attached to like a job, not to an organization. Well, I guess it's kind of both. So if you're like, I want to train people, is there something specific that you want to train people in where this doesn't apply? Okay, so here's what I'm gonna say like to that, and like this is if the BOLI certification is an obstacle, if you're like, okay, we're looking in a different employment sector, what can you do to provide the benefits that a BOLI certification does? Like, what is the best curriculum available in that area? And what are the connections with employers who are invested in that area? So like one good example of something that is not BOLI certification, but also valuable is the Building Performance Institute is a nationally recognized organization that does a series of standardized trainings on skills to assess and make energy efficiency improvements in homes. It's not a BOLI registered thing, but it is nationally recognized, standardized, and in demand by employers. So that's like, if BOLI certification is available, great. Like, that's sort of like, it's just like, oh, check. But if it's not, then show us that what you have is just as good. That you have something that is widely recognized and in demand. That like, when people go through it, they're gonna have something they can really use. Because like, you know, again, like, you know, when I did try to get a job as a bartender, they were like, well, have you bartended before? And I was like, well, I took a class. You know? So like making sure that you're delivering something that's as valuable as possible for people. Does that answer your question? Yeah. Yeah. Oh, no, it sure doesn't. Uh-huh. Yep. Oh, yeah. It can be, no, it doesn't. And that's another reason that we really encourage, like, if you're trying to get something off the ground, like stat, like getting a BOLI certified thing going on is probably not your best first step in program development. Probably your better first step in program development is like partnering with folks who are already plugged into those networks and seeing how, you know, like as a pilot phase, seeing if that's something that is useful to your community, and then, you know, down the line, looking at making those investments to like really get the full thing. The Building Performance Institute? Yeah, just Google it, and I know there are people in the room who might want to raise their hands who know quite a bit about it. Victoria over there from Intercity Collaborative's a great resource. Okay, so and so I'm really just hammering the same thing here, but we do require that you submit your curriculum when you're going for a workforce development grant. And again, we're just like, we want to make sure that what we're funding is delivering the best possible value. And if you don't have a curriculum, you know, again, you can try submitting for a planning grant, or another great option is to partner with someone who does. That's another path forward. All right, job placement. I think I've basically said this before, but we are looking for direct connections with employers, apprenticeship programs. Again, make sure trainees are successful and it avoids oversupplying the job market. Job retention, you know, continuing to check in with folks after they're placed, seeing what supports they need to stay in their jobs and advance. Support systems, culturally competent and job specific. You know, we see this include child care funds, mentorship, transportation assistance, all sorts of things. You know your community's best. Youth education. Oh, question. That's a great question. Off the top of my head, I think I've heard you're looking for like 80% after 6 months, but that is not, for the record, my firm answer. Sam, would you take that one down and we'll follow up? But it's also, that's not a criteria. That's just sort of a like that's what I've heard as an industry standard. But again, we do want people to, you know, stay in their jobs. All right, and then quickly for anyone thinking about applying for youth education and exposure, obviously none of the above applies. It's a whole different thing. But what we are looking for is meaningful curriculum on climate work, hands-on as much as possible, and that culturally specific design for priority populations. Okay, that was a lot. But hopefully it kind of gave you some boxes in your head to tack your ideas up about. and to think about where you might need to or want to partners with others to be successful. We do have you have funding available this spring, and I also want to emphasize we'll have funding available next spring. And now, if you're really just starting from scratch, now is a great time to be developing your partnerships and your programming to apply in 2026. But if you're like, no, we got this, ready to go, stay tuned. Watch our email, watch our website. The application window is coming. As soon as you see that stuff post, dig into it. This is not an application that you can do at the last minute. And especially if you're working with partners, you gotta pin things down early and firmly.
To our priority populations. Engagement with partners is also a great thing. And I want to talk, I saved the does not duplicate existing strategic programs for last because this deserves a larger conversation. PCEF has funded quite a few of PBOT's programs that are community.
Okay, thank you, Ryan. I appreciate the question. So we have a whole host of strategic programs. Of those, some of those also have funding embedded into them, programs that we as a city are running. And they have funding embedded into them for workforce and contractor development. If we've got a program you're tracking, we want to make sure that you're not duplicating what we're doing over there. And so what we want to make sure is that people are building up the ecosystem. It's complementary, it's adding to. So you know that we have a strategic program focused on single-family homes. That's got a training program. We want to make sure that what is happening here is adding to that. And so talk about that. If you've got something and you're seeing there's a gap, explain that. But we do expect folks to be aware of what we're running on across our programs and speak to that. We're not excluding folks, but make sure you're tracking that and speak to that. How what you're doing in this area would build on or complement that if there's alignment.
Thanks, Sam. And thanks for the question. Yes. Well, I think theoretically, if we had 4 $200,000 proposals, we could potentially fund them. I think I don't have a firm answer to that question. But 800,000 is the cap. Yeah. Okay, so we started a little late, and I don't want to like totally cut us off time for more questions and discussion, but it is 12 o'clock, so if you were hoping to hit another session, I'm just flagging that so that you can make your exit. But for those who want to stick around for a few more minutes, I have like 2 more slides, I think, maybe not even. And just want to make more time for Q&A for those who are interested. So if you need to leave, start slipping out. I will just say in terms of resources for developing your ideas and your programming, Work Systems, our local workforce development board is a great resource. Local trade associations, I think we have some in the room. And I just really encourage you to talk to each other because just listening to all your introductions, like we got the whole pipeline a whole bunch of times over in this room. And it's true, there are some like standalone organizations in the workforce development field where they're like, oh, this is what we do, full pipeline, like we've been doing it for years. But then as the space evolves, there's also organizations that have different pieces of the puzzle. And I see all the pieces of the puzzle here, so I'll be excited if folks can work together on those things. Also, when that application window opens, there's going to be technical assistance. You heard about that this morning. Take advantage of it. Those like grant writing and budget development resources, the application office hours. It's there for you. So there you go. And I think that's about all of the word soup I've got for you this morning. What other questions or curiosities Yes, in the back. I'll, yeah, if you just.
Organizations are limited to 2 applications max, no more than 1 per funding category. So you could apply for an implementation grant in workforce development, another one in clean energy. You could apply for, but you can't apply for 2 in workforce development. You can't apply for planning and implementation in workforce development. But you could apply for planning in 1 bucket, so it's 2 grants max, no more than 1 per funding area. Correct.
And just to clarify, that's being lead on the proposal. You can be a partner on as many proposals as...
You can be a partner on as many proposals as you want. Make sure you can deliver if you get awarded on all those.
With the new administration in our country, is it important what kind of language we use? Are there keywords that we should no longer use that were acceptable before, or that aren't now?
Continue to talk about the organizations you're serving and speak to why you're serving those organizations and why it's important that this group needs the service or has been excluded. So continue to do that. So the question was, with this new administration, do we need to talk about our work and the folks that we're serving differently? No, we do not make decisions on the base of protected class, but it is important you all speak to the organizations you're serving because it is important to us that we make sure we are equitably serving our community as a whole.
So my question is, if you're not funded, is there any support, technical support provided after the submission of the grant? And again, not funded for this cycle because you did speak to the next funding cycle of 26. So will any technical assistance be offered?
Leading up to the grant cycle, there's like a whole bunch of technical assistance, like the application support, the office hours. After the funding cycle, we do offer feedback meetings to folks whose proposals were declined, but it's not like a robust technical assistance offering. We do sometimes in those meetings refer people like, hey, maybe you should apply for a mini grant, which is another PCEF grant. We offer quarterly. This is $5,000, but it's a really small lift that if you're just really starting to get an idea off the ground, that can be an option. And it's kind of a form of technical assistance because you get to like start small, but it's also only $5,000. So does that answer your question? Yeah, you get feedback, but not like full on. Yeah, but it's more limited technical assistance than we offer at the start of the application window. Carlos.
Thank you, Maggie. My name is Carlos Banks, and thank you all for doing this presentation. I appreciate that. I just wanted to see if you could expound a little bit more. You mentioned something earlier about, you talked about BPI, and I heard that point, but something being attached to a job more so than to an organization in terms of the training that's going to be provided and the type of workforce development. Could that be expounded on a little bit more in terms of what you're saying by that, and if you're kind of referring to that as this should be directly attached to going into the electrical field, becoming an electrician, or going into HVAC, or becoming a home energy auditor? Is that what you're saying, or is it something else that you're kind of expounded on?
I think that the question I was trying to answer there was like, okay, we want to, and this is kind of getting into the weeds a little bit. The question was sort of like, well, you're talking about this BOLI certified training. We're not BOLI certified, and in order to become a BOLI certified training agent, you have to be training folks for a BOLI recognized job. I think basically what I'm like, so if you're trying to get a job bully recognized, that's different than trying to become a training agent. But I think what I really want to say is like that whatever your specific field is, like the specific field you're trying to get people into, just get really knowledgeable about what the requirements are, what the training and certification landscape is. So if you're trying to get people to be electricians, you really need to learn about all sorts of BOLI stuff. If you're trying to get people involved in a field where like apprenticeships aren't a thing, or find out what the like most recognized, most valued certification is in that field, and try to provide that or something, something equivalent. That's really what the message I was trying to get across. Is like whatever it is that you're trying to train people in, make sure you know all the ins and outs of how people enter that field and get trained for it. I think I want to take one more question so we have time for a quick break before we pivot to the contractor business development. So
My question is about the youth education and exposure segment. And so I see that there are you have the number 2, and I'm not quite sure what 2 means in that regard.
We have more limited funding. I mean, as part of our youth exposure, we recognize it's valuable. And I think, as Maggie was sharing earlier, it's critical. There's a whole host of other funders in the youth space. And so we provide a little bit of that focus, recognizing that upstream exposure for youth in these areas is important. But we have about $800,000 of funding every round. If organizations come in the max $400,000, that's only going to provide 2 grants. So it's more just to say, likely you're seeing that we're going to fund probably 2. There's a scenario that maybe we fund 3, but it just depends on what we get in the door. We will score them and we'll see what. So we will see what comes through, but I think that's a fair question.
awesome, thanks. I'm gonna close this session now. Those of you who still have questions, come up and grab me during our 5-minute break. Then I'm gonna talk about contractor or business development. I'll say if you're interested in checking out another session, go for it. There is gonna be some overlap with the information I've already presented on workforce, though obviously some differences because it's different. So thank you. Thank you all for the good work you're doing and the good work you're aiming for. right, 2-minute warning. We'll get started here in just a few. All right, we're going to get started on contractor development. Is that what everyone is still here for? Contractor business development. That's what we're going to do. I think there maybe, I think everyone, was anyone here not in the workforce development session? You were here, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, you came at the end. Oh, okay, great. All right. Well, we're going to get started on the other half of this funding portfolio. This is the workforce and contractor development portfolio. And so on one half of that, which I just talked about, we're working on workforce development. That's getting people jobs where they're mostly employees. On this other side of the portfolio, we're working on helping contractors and businesses. So that's more or less what's going on here, making sure that everybody is in the right place. Like I said, there is going to be some overlap with the last presentation. As with the last one, call out your questions, call out your ideas. Since we were all here last time, I won't have us do introductions again, but I will also say again that some of your best resources, best connections on these projects are here in the room. So, okay, so successful contractor development projects in PCEF community grants. I was making that slide deck and I I was like, what does that even mean? How about successful green business development projects? That kind of fits it better, right? You don't have to be a general contractor. We use the term contractor because we work for the government, and if you're a business who can enter into a contract, then we're going to call you a contractor. But this is broader than general contractors. Then I looked at that and said, well, business development sounds kind of like sales. And also, we can't make grants to businesses. You can only make grants to a nonprofit. So, try again. Successful nonprofit projects for green business development and support. That's my best stab at what I'm actually going to talk about here today. We're going to, this portfolio, we're going to make $1.5 million in grants for 2 nonprofits that support green businesses in developing, stabilizing, growing, all that. So just to get us all on my best shot at the right page, because I know it's not the most transparent name. So we'll start, this may look familiar, with what is contractor development? What are we talking about? What are some good examples? And what are some things that we are looking for when we evaluate these projects when we get applications in the door? And again, just like last time, I'm going to be trying to give you some points that you can, tick off in your head, like, oh, our idea is pretty on track. Oh, our idea, maybe we need a partner to build in this part, or maybe we need some more program development. That's my goal here. Any big picture questions before I get started? I believe the slides will be shared. Okay, so slides will be shared. Yeah, slides will be shared, and there will be a recording available online as well. So you don't need to sprain your wrist trying to get it all down. All right, let's get started. Clean energy transition is going to take a lot of work by a lot of businesses and their employees. People think about businesses a lot of ways, but when I think about the clean energy transition, and I'm like, you've all seen this one before. The people think about the clean energy transition. There's a lot of work that needs to be done, and at the same time that we need workers to do the work, we also need businesses and contractors to organize the jobs, organize the workers, enter into the contracts, get things done. Just turn in a couple hundred solar installers loose on the city isn't going to have the same effect as having a bunch of successful solar businesses that are, organizing jobs, organizing workers, moving the money. It's an essential part of the green economy. And it's also, as I talked about with workforce, it's a part of the economy that has to grow, that will be growing as we move towards climate solutions. Here we have this is again very similar to what I talked about with workforce, but here where we're focusing is on the businesses. Get businesses the resources and support they need to grow and help pay their workers, help their communities prosper. That means the green economy can do those projects, move things forward, and we can successfully move into that clean energy transition. So, how do you do business development? Well, I hesitated to even make a slide because who here works in economic development or a trade association or something like that? So there are a lot of different things that any given business needs to succeed, and I will not try to summarize every possible one, but key components that we're generally looking for are, or key components that we're generally seeing in our applications and looking for is skills training or certifications. So you've got folks who are in maybe a construction space and they want to learn, get a certification or increase their skills in a certain green building or renewable energy area. We also see business technical assistance, which again, could be everything from help with marketing to accounting to HR to all sorts of different business supports. But providing those kind of supports to existing green businesses to help them succeed and grow and take on more projects, support that clean energy transition, that's another piece of contractor and business development. Those of you in the business development space know that there are a variety of resources out there, probably those that local trade associations offer, the Small Business Administration, the state has some things, like there's different There's a lot of resources out there, and navigating those resources can be an important part of business technical assistance, getting people hooked up with the resources that will help their business grow. As with workforce development, we also love a strong emphasis on wraparound support. You're trying to run a business, grow a business, pivot a business, but again, since we're focusing on businesses from priority populations, we know there could be needs for that there's going to be additional barriers these communities face, and additional support can help people, even if it isn't business related. Again, could be transportation, could be coaching, mentorship that's culturally specific. These are the sorts of things can help businesses succeed. When we talk about contractor development, we talk about like how can we help businesses really at the bottom line is succeed. But in the middle, are we helping folks launch, stabilize, pivot, and scale up? Some programs may choose to focus on just one of those spaces. Maybe taking like folks who have they have an existing construction business and help them pivot into a clean energy space. Or maybe you have people who are, again, in the clean energy space, but having business troubles. How can you help them stabilize? Folks who are in the clean energy space and ready to grow, what supports can you provide to make that happen? Contractor development, again, is part of PCEF's sort of like from the beginning emphasis on this work creating community prosperity. That the green economy being one that helps especially priority populations grow wealth and do well while doing the good work of fighting climate change. And again, the grants in this portfolio as well as the grants in every portfolio, part of your grant agreement is the Workforce and Contractor Equity Agreement, which includes goals about hiring diverse contractors and paying wages and having payment practices for your contractors that we hope help new, small, and diverse businesses enter the clean energy space. So again, in community grants, our priorities for contractor development are, again, those community benefits, advancing racial and social justice, providing community benefits, and then again, the priority populations are just a little bit more expansive than those for PCEF as a whole. We're focusing on people with disabilities, people with low incomes, people of color, and people experiencing sex and gender-based discrimination in the workplace. So adding that gender component, reflecting the demographics of business ownership. I've got a great example of this. I've actually, if you were in the first session, you've heard it before, but there is no better example for me to give than the Northwest Native Chamber of Commerce's Clean Energy Contractor Development Program. The Northwest Native Chamber of Commerce started developing this idea with a $5,000 mini grant. They used it to sort of start exploring what would it take for us to build a program that helps Native American contractors succeed in the home energy efficiency and weatherization space. They learned enough with that they applied again for a planning grant to help them say, like, okay, we've got the idea, we think it's solid, now we're gonna build out a program. We're gonna hire someone, we're gonna get them trained up so that they really understand the industry, the work that needs to be done, and what contractors need to succeed. They focused on adding that technical piece because the Northwest Native Chamber had a really strong existing business technical assistance program. So they already had that core competency of like helping businesses get on the right track with like, oh, you need marketing assistance, here's how you can get a small business administration help, that sort of like navigation and technical assistance piece. So they used the planning grant to add this competency in the home energy efficiency weatherization space. Once they had that on board, they applied for kind of a pilot implementation grant. Pretty small, not too many contractors, got some training, and then with the training, immediately turned it into work, weatherizing homes that were owned in the local community. So again, it's not just the like, well, I've taken a class in that, but like, no, I took a class in that, and then I weatherized 3 houses. So these contractors really got meaningful, not just training, but experience in the work, while they were also taking advantage of the Northwest Native Chamber's business technical assistance services. And I'm going to finish the example, and then I'll get you. So they started this small program. They just weatherized 5 or 10 houses. I don't quite remember, but yeah, less than 10, just a few contractors. And then they applied for a larger implementation grant, which the numbers are escaping me, but it was, you know, dozens of homes, dozens of contractors, really operating the program at scale. So they took it slow. They really built everything with integrity at every stage, and they now have like a really model program that's helping their contractors succeed. You had a question. I'm being recorded. So I'm gonna say that I like want to get back with you with a really detailed answer about like what limits there might be on that or what guidance we have around it. But like, you know, generally like stipends are an allowable expense in our programs. But I want to get back to you with a more detailed answer. So let's make sure to connect on that. Yeah. And that is a great question. And also, I just want to point out that that speaks to something we're really looking for in these programs is folks who are really understanding what are the specific barriers contractors are facing. You know, you're saying like, hey, we've got training, but we know that folks, I mean, you know, they're working hard and they're getting, and there's, you know, especially when you're running your own business, there's no paid time off. So how are we supporting people? And that's, you know, so great example in action, and we'll get back to you with more details. But so, any other questions on that example? Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is a great question. I'm going to repeat it for everyone to hear, and then I'm going to pitch it to Sam, which is when we're in program development and collaborating with multiple partners, and you can tell me if I'm getting this right, what kind of, when you're submitting a grant, what kind of documentation is PCEF looking for to be like, yeah, this is a legit and functional partnership? Sam.
Projects come in all shapes, sizes, and forms. And you know, the more simple a project, we're going to take a look and we're going to say, okay, that seems reasonable. If you've got a fairly complex project, we want to know how you've thought that through, how you have your partners at the table, and but in 60 days, we don't expect you to have eked out, you know, a very specific. Here is our working agreements, but you may have a memorandum of understanding, or you may have letters of support from folks saying, hey, we're here. We're not just being named on this application. And so you can always append those things to the application. Those always help us as reviewers get a feel for how all the folks are showing up to the table. So more information is helpful because When you have many partners, we know that's complex. And so we do want to make sure all the parts can function, because those are some of the first things that break apart in a project if that clarity isn't there.
Oh, this is, well, so, yeah. Yeah, so the question is, will PCEF facilitate these partnerships? And the answer is like, we are trying to do that right now by getting y'all together. So that's the answer to that question. And then just to add one more thing on the like documenting your partnerships, I'd say the more essential your partnership is, probably more in your best interest to document it. If it's like, oh, we're gonna do a community outreach partnership with these 6 organizations and we're all gonna pass out flyers, like whatever. But if you're like, I'm a culturally specific organization with no expertise in solar panels, and I'm partnering with someone who has a lot of expertise in solar panels, that would be a good one. It's like that's an essential partnership. Likewise, if you're like a mainstream organization saying, I'm going to deliver some culturally specific services to this really specific population, and you don't have an MOU or some sort of like actual backed up partnership there, that's also like more beneficial in those kinds of situations to submit that documentation. Anything else before I dive into sort of the like checklist for your idea piece? No? Yeah.
Is there a database that have a list of these contractors we can sort of market these services to?
The question was, does PCEF have a database of contractors to market services to? Can you say a little more? So yeah, so how to engage with contractors who are in specific kind of populations? Right. Is that your question?
The intent is to increase,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's some great existing organizations to connect with. I know we have we had someone in the room from the Filipino American Chamber of Commerce, the Northwest Native Chamber, the Black American Chamber, Portland Business Development Group. There's a lot of Latino Built, I think, is here. So I would say there's some strong local community stuff going there to plug into. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Okay, yeah. So that was that was not a helpful connection for you. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's move on to the so what is going to make what are we looking for when we're evaluating contractor development projects? And what are some characteristics of successful projects? So first of all, again, like the basics, we need to be focusing on reducing or sequestering greenhouse gases. You know, I think a good sort of like litmus test is like, is this going to directly support work in one of our funding portfolios? That's like a pretty good place to start with. Like, is this a green business? Is this somewhere in like renewables or energy efficiency, green building, regenerative agriculture, green infrastructure? That's a great place to start. I know we can, a lot of things reduce and sequester greenhouse gases, so like we can, you know, move a little bit. But I guess what I'm trying to say is like it should be like a solid green business, not necessarily like some green on the edges. Does that make sense? We also are looking for a clear path to business success in a proven sector. You know, as was mentioned this morning, we're city government. We're not your like angel investor types. We're low risk. We're not looking to like fund a startup in a new clean energy fund a nonprofit to help startups in brand new technology. That's probably not our jam. So much as like helping people like succeed on a clear path in a pretty, in like a pretty. Go ahead. Yeah, those are, so, and again, of course, we're not funding those businesses, but if you're a nonprofit and those are the businesses you're looking to support, then like, yeah, that sounds about right to me. Yeah. All right, again, Portland metropolitan area, the business development services can take place in our work shed. We're looking for stuff that, again, is like holistic and outcomes based. Just like with workforce development, we want to make sure that people are like really getting value, getting trained on things that they can apply and get paid to do in the near term. And we also want to make sure that folks are being supported in the ways that are specific to their communities and their industries to be successful. Right there, the culturally informed support for priority populations, the right expertise in the right places. Just as the Northwest Native Chamber recognized their strength in business technical assistance and recognized, what piece of the puzzle they needed to build. Again, there might be other organizations that have a lot of strength in like training and certifying in a clean energy space, but have less experience supporting businesses, especially ones from specific communities. Again, it's a great, you either need to build that competence or have that partner in place. We also, again, just like with our workforce development, we are looking for plans for tracking and accountability. So like how are you making sure that this is working for businesses? And also how are you sticking with them so that you can make sure that they're getting support along the way? All right, breaking it down a little bit. Business technical assistance. This is, man, I'll just say, this is such a big ball of wax. So I'll say the thing that we'd really like to see most here is that you have a strong track record. That like you haven't just like taken a course on QuickBooks and now you're gonna teach the businesses QuickBooks, but that you have some experience or someone in your partnership has experience. If this is something you're trying to deliver in positive outcomes, delivering this kind of business technical assistance on like the nuts and bolts of like the business piece rather than the work that's being done in the industry. This will look familiar. Training and certification. We're looking for high quality, in-demand training. So stuff with stuff that is in demand, industry recognized, standardized curriculum that folks are sure that they can get value out of. Again, this is most common in the sort of like building and construction sector, but that someone could say like, I'm a sustainable homes professional contractor, put that on their website. It'll help them get jobs. In other sectors, again, if you're working in a sector where there isn't that like one standard training or a few of them or certification, what we really need is to know that you know the landscape, and that, you know, for this particular sector, what contractors really need is this, and that's why we're giving it to them. So, so really just showing that you are providing in-demand training that's going to help folks build skills and get jobs. It is also, actually I'll put it here, so when that training can lead directly into work, that's the best case scenario. So again, so we can move out of the, I took a class, and into the like, I took a class and then I did it 6 times. So really having that experience as well as generating that income for doing the work. Support systems, again, we're looking for industry-specific supports and community-specific supports. This could also include additional business services. If you're able to provide financing, tools, equipment, like not just marketing advice, but marketing like services, any of that is a great support to a business. Yes. Like if you're able to do some sort of program where you like make small forgivable loans, or short-term helping people purchase equipment or something like that. We know that financing is a barrier for many businesses. So and again, whether that's like something that like your organization provides, or something you have a special relationship with a credit union, you know, like we know that's a barrier businesses face, and if there's creative solutions you can bring to the table to help businesses succeed, we'd love to see it. Oh, that's another question where we'll get back to you, unless Sam has an immediate answer. Yeah. 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 And we just have a couple. Actually, we have a few minutes left. Go ahead. Yeah, so I think what I'm hearing, and again, just like stating it for everyone, and you tell me if I get it right, is you're asking, and this is kind of more about like employees, right? Like helping them retain their jobs by helping them like face and have advocacy when they are faced with racism in the workplace, how to handle that and move forward productively. And is that like an allowable expense? So extending it to be like when you're a business negotiating contracts, bringing in like additional advocacy. Yeah, I mean that doesn't sound, you know, have like a service that many business you know, trade associations offer is help with contracts, and I think there's no reason that help can't extend to any difficulties the contracts. In the negotiation of contracts. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I think generally, I think generally what I'll just say is we see that as part of, we would see that as part of the wraparound support services that would be offered. It's not the core, right? But that's a core part to making a worker be able to be retained on a job site, is being able to be there and say, there's some things going on, let me help you negotiate that, because we can help them. So I think that we would see that as part of the wraparound services that an organization may seek to provide and write that in, generally. But that's yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, and again, just like this thinking is, again, I just want to point out, like, this is exactly the kind of thinking we're looking for. Like, what are the supports we're going to need that are specific to the community and specific to the job? And you're identifying some specific, and specific to like the business challenge. And you're identifying some specific needs for communities of color. And, you know, when your program is proposed with specific, you know, supports and solutions, like, that's great. That's great. Question over here. So yeah, that is something else that I can, you know, just bring in here. So part of that workforce and contractor equity agreement that every PCEF grantee signs onto is the requirement for contractors and workers on PCEF-funded job sites to go through a Rise Up Safe from Hate training, which is a training delivered either in person or via video that talks about racism in the workplace, sex discrimination in the workplace, and like is promoting sort of a overall culture change and construction shift for safer, more inclusive and equitable job sites. So that is a requirement for PCEF-funded projects, but obviously not for all projects, which is why supports like that are useful. Yes, one more, and then we're going to click through these last few slides. So yeah, let's take that one offline because we're kind of getting more into the like grant management, workforce contractor equity implementation, which I don't feel totally prepared to like just like off the top of my head get into. But we can talk more. And with these last few minutes, I just want to do our last couple points, which is kind of like when we see these contractor development proposals, something we're really looking for is that they have their eye on the business's bottom line, on success. We don't want to see you have a plan to deliver trainings or to deliver technical assistance or to deliver support, you know, for the challenges businesses may face. We want to see all those services or whichever ones you're offering, you know, as part of a coordinated effort to help businesses succeed, to win their next job, and, you know, be a sustainable economic engine in their community. It also has that piece of like, if we know there are firm plans that are aimed at businesses getting work, that also is a sign that we aren't oversupplying the market in any industry. All right, so are you ready to roll? We've got implementation grants available. It's $2 million available in this sector. Again, it's competitive, and that means that applications are scored and ranked, and so give it your best shot and see what else comes in. Also, work together and think about whether you need to develop partnerships or strengthen certain elements of your program to make it more effective and more competitive. We will, again, have potentially 1 or 2 planning grants available. And I should have mentioned this last time. Another option for something where you have like most of the details planned but have a little more of a planning phase is to build a planning, so you have a little bit of a planning need, is to build a planning phase into the beginning of your grant, even if it still has, but then have most of it be implementation. So that, an example of that would not be like, find a culturally specific partner. An example of that would be like, firm up operational details with partner, with partner organization to make this program go, or like run a pilot before with one cycle and only 2 businesses before rolling out the whole program at scale for 15 businesses at a year, something like that. So that's another option for as you're developing your programs. And I don't think I mentioned it in workforce development, but same thing goes there. And again, it is actually, if you're really at an early stage with this, it's a great time to start thinking about your idea for 2026. And taking the time to, building partnerships takes time, we all know. Or maybe, to meet with people, research, build internal capacity of your organization, start that process. Again, there are resources, there are a lot of people already thinking about how to help businesses succeed. There are a bunch of culturally specific trade associations, lots of chambers of commerce, the Small Business Association. So if you're working in this field, we're definitely going to want to see you plugged into and aware of that ecosystem. And the sort of like the secret PCEF sauce is really like getting those resources going for businesses run by priority populations in the clean energy climate space. But do make use of the resources and organizations that are already out there, already thinking about this. Collaboration is the way to go. And that wraps us right at time for those who feel done listening to me. But for those who just want a little bit more of my voice and have some more questions, I'm here for them. All right, thank you all so much. I've got cards. I'd love to be in touch and talk with you all more. And enjoy lunch, I think, or food, or actually, I'm not sure what's happening next.